we'll be sharing some secrets that will help you understand some of the many changes that you'll see as your toddler grows. We're going to start by going back in time, just for a little while, to share some basics about baby's cues, crying, and sleep. When your baby was younger, it was hard to tell what your baby needed. Even as a newborn, your baby used cues to let you know when she wanted to learn and play and when she was uncomfortable or overwhelmed. Sometimes you knew just what to do, and sometimes you didn't. But soon you noticed that your baby used cues that you could recognize when she was tired, hungry, wet, or bothered by too much happening around her. Did you know that your baby learned all those cues from you? When you responded to her cues, she learned which cues to use the next time she felt the same way. When your baby was awake, relaxed, and ready to play, she opened her eyes wide and stared at your face. When she was a little older, she smiled, reached out to you, and pointed to things she wanted to know more about. Every time you recognized that she wanted to learn and play, she got excited, learned a little bit more about the world, and got better at using cues. Your baby also let you know when she needed to eat. It was so important for you to know when she was hungry that she used more than one cue to tell you how she was feeling. She also learned to show you when she was full. When your baby was too uncomfortable or overwhelmed to learn and play, he turned away, closed his eyes, arched his back, tensed his body, or rubbed his eyes. When he was a little older, he twisted away from you, pushed you away, shook his head, and squealed. Every time you recognized what your baby needed, he learned to use cues that you would understand. When your baby was younger, you probably wondered if you would ever be able to figure out why your baby was crying. Sometimes you had to act like a detective to figure out what was bothering her. Now that your baby is older and you know each other better, you've noticed she doesn't cry as often, and when she does, it's a lot easier to figure out why. These days, you probably know what sorts of things upset your baby, and more often, you notice signals or cues that she uses to let you know that she needs your help, even before she cries. You've learned if your baby is bothered by loud noises, bright lights, or too many people, or if she gets upset easily if she's tired, too hot, too cold, or stuck in the same position for too long. At first, you probably weren't sure how to calm your baby if your baby was overstimulated or still fussy after you fixed a problem. Now you know more about what works and what doesn't. You figured out that doing the same things over and over, like rocking, swaying, and singing, helped your baby calm down. Repetition helps overstimulated babies and toddlers feel better. But every baby is different, and it probably took you a while to learn the tricks that work best for your baby. Of course, crying doesn't stop once babies become toddlers. In fact, toddlers can cry a lot louder and longer than younger babies, and that's hard on you. Unfortunately, crying is still the best way for your toddler to tell you when he really needs your help. It's also important to know that until he gets a little older, he can't easily control when he starts or stops crying. Remember last time we reminded you that your toddler learns his cues from you? Now he'll use cues to show you what he wants to learn about, where he wants to go, what he wants to play with, and who he wants to hold him. Every time you respond to a cue, your baby learns to use that cue again, and that he doesn't have to cry for you to understand him. The good news is that responding to your toddler doesn't mean letting him have his way when you don't want him to. We'll share more about that later in this series. Now let's take a moment to talk about how babies and toddlers sleep. You've known for a long time that babies don't sleep like adults. In fact, when your toddler was a newborn, you never knew when you'd be able to get some sleep. You might have wondered why your baby seemed so restless sometimes, and other times slept so deeply. Newborns, babies, and toddlers need a lot of sleep, and while they sleep, they spend some of the time dreaming. You could tell when your baby was dreaming because his eyes moved under his eyelids, and his face and his body twitched. He was also very easy to wake up. Part of the time your baby was asleep, he was not dreaming. He hardly moves at all when he's not dreaming, and it's harder to wake him up. Both of these types of sleep are very important for your baby. When he was a newborn, he started dreaming whenever he first fell asleep, and he was dreaming for half the time he was asleep. Now when he falls asleep, he doesn't dream right away, and he has finally figured out the difference between day and night, so he sleeps longer at night. We wish we could tell you that your baby will sleep through the night from now on, but we have to be honest with you. It's not unusual for toddlers to wake up again every once in a while, especially when they're away from home and sleeping in unfamiliar places, or learning new skills like standing and walking. So if your baby is waking more often, it shouldn't last for very long, just until you get home or he gets better at walking. In the meantime, ask a person you love and trust to come over and help you get a nap. Now that we've reminded you about some baby basics, we're ready to move on and talk about some of the important changes that you'll be seeing in your toddler over the next few months. And more importantly, help you see that knowing more about why toddlers do some of the strange things that they do can help you feel more relaxed and in control.